Hi, welcome to the Bible Standard, where you are guaranteed in-depth Bible study and analysis. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and drop a comment in the comments area to have your say, and we'll do our best to reply.
Now, it's absolutely staggering what we're seeing. Look, the scriptures say to us, now we'll first of all deal with this, but the scriptures say to us repeatedly that Christ is coming. Time and time again, it's said in the scriptures that Christ is coming, or he will come and his presence will be with us. It's sure and it's certain, and we need to be preparing for that. Look, no less than 318 times in the New Testament alone, that's on average every 25 verses, it says that Christ will come in some way. So it's obviously critical. It's obviously something we should center our attention upon deeply, because the time is indeed very short. Now, will he really come? You ask the churches, they don't think so. But what does the Bible say? When he comes, there'll be no doubt it's Christ. Zechariah says, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall look on him whom they pierced, crucified. Again, one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thine hands? Then he will answer, then he shall answer, those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. So he's telling the Jewish people, you crucified me. You'll know that it's me. There'll be those marks in my hands. It's absolutely certain that he shall return. There's no shadow of a doubt about it. But the critical issue for us tonight is when. Scriptures warn us repeatedly, brethren and sisters, young people, that he comes quickly. Quickly. You look at it 6 times in the New Testament. There in the book of Revelation it says, I come quickly, I come quickly. Or better, I come suddenly. So we need to be prepared. We don't need to sleep. We need to be truly awake. But what are the signs of his coming? Well, when will Christ come? What does the scripture say? It says, first of all, in Daniel chapter 12, there shall be a time of a trouble such as never was, and many shall awake to everlasting life. So he said, I'll come, and afterwards those who are faithful will be given life eternal. I'll come at a time of great trouble. Look at Luke chapter 21. And it says there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and the stars. That's the political heavens, and we're looking at that tonight. Distress of nations, you'll see that. With perplexity, no way out, the sea and the waves roaring. So it's going to happen. It's going to be a time of great trouble when he comes. And I'll tell you, aren't we seeing that now? Well, we'll have a look at that. The scientists every year for the last 5 or 10 years begin the year by warning what's going to happen. They have what they call the Doomsday clock, and they set it every year as to what they think's going to happen, whether the world will collapse in chaos or not that year. And they set it every year in January. January this year, they warned that the world faces catastrophe in 2026, the closest it's ever been in history. And they go on to say, it's unprecedented danger. And they set the clock as close to midnight or 12 o'clock to indicate how close it is to doomsday. They reckon it's 85 seconds. Not literal 85 seconds, but in other words, closer than ever they've set it. That's how they see the world today. So we need to be very, very serious. What should we be doing? We should be watching. 9 times, notice, it says there to watch. We should be watchmen, observing what's happening and allow it to impact on how we behave and how we walk, so that we do that which is right. And Jesus himself said, he interrupted John writing the book of Revelation, and he says, I'll tell you, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth. Are you watching? That's what you need to be doing. You need to be watching. Now let's come back to that verse or chapter that we had read for us in a minute. So the Lord returns. Oh, I've missed something there for a minute. The Lord returns, it appears, in a period, a window of peace. Remember what Jesus said? I come as a thief. You don't expect him. And so it's a time like that he comes. He comes in what appears to be a window of peace. It isn't, but it looks that way. But let's look at what we just had a look at and see if we can get a little bit clearer. Now, Jesus said, I come in as a thief in the night. John said it. Peter said it. We'll look at this in a minute. Paul said it. Now, I want to look at the way Paul says it. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. Remember, Jesus, John, Peter, and now Paul says it. And when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes on them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So, the birth comes suddenly. And people will not escape if they're not prepared. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. You need to be prepared. That's what he is saying. And so he says, yes, he'll come as a thief. And what is that going to be like? When they shall say peace and safety, most people will be deceived. They won't think he's coming. And it's at that time he comes. So be prepared. I said to you a moment ago, Jesus said that repeatedly. Jesus appears to come in a window of peace. And that's stated by all the key writers in the New Testament. Jesus himself. I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth. Are you doing that? John says it. Remember how thou hast heard, I will come as a thief. Let's be prepared. Apostle Peter says, the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. And we read about this just only a few seconds ago. Apostle Paul said, he cometh as a thief in the night. When they shall say peace and safety. He says, be careful because it won't be. But you be prepared because you'll be taken and saved. And it also said in the Olivet prophecies. In the Olivet prophecy, it says he comes at a time like in the days of Noah. Remember, Noah got into the ark. Probably everybody was laughing. It looked like a lovely time of peace. And then the flood came. Take the time also of Sodom and Gomorrah. What happened to Lot and his wife? They got out. Nobody else did. They got out and then the chaos came. So we need to be well prepared. And so here's the key lesson. It is utterly vital that if a deceptive time of peace comes, we should not be caught napping. We got to be wide awake. That's what's critical. So now let's come to the signs. Let's work our way through some of them. We're not going to have time to look at all of them. Let's take the first one. Israel, a nation in the land. Ezekiel 38 and 39. Now, I chose that one for this reason. The best recent proof we can utterly trust the Bible is the return of the Jews to the land. The Bible very clearly stated that. Very clearly stated. And there they are back in that land. Remember, John Thomas, Dr. Thomas, wrote 1848, well before the Jews went back into the land. He wrote it on the basis of his understanding of the Bible. There is then a partial and primary restoration of the Jews before he appeared in his kingdom. Their colonisation of Palestine will be on political principles, and they will return in unbelief of Jesus. They will immigrate thither as agriculturists and as traders under the efficient protection of the British power. Absolutely correct. But he wrote well before it happened. How could he do it? Because the Bible said so. You see, in Ezekiel 37, it says, Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, and I will gather them and bring them into their own land. And indeed, exactly that happened, particularly after the close of the Second World War. The Jews just got out of Europe. The Holocaust had taken place. They didn't want to be in Europe, and they got back to that land in huge numbers. But look where the quote goes. And I will make them one nation in the land. John Thomas said that. And indeed, that was indeed what happened. They become one nation in the land. 1948, there's Ben-Gurion, their first Prime Minister, standing up and beginning the nation of Israel. Exactly what the Scripture said, and exactly as Brother Thomas interpreted it. Exactly. He was an excellent scholar. And we're going to see that in a minute again. So now, we can trust the Bible, utterly. We can utterly trust the Bible. But look what the other signs say. Let's take another one. The Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. Does the Bible speak about that? Does it? Well, let's have a look. Here's Dr. Thomas again, writing in 1860. He actually wrote it, first of all, in 1848, later on in 1860. Well, he wrote it in 4 different places, in detail. He based it on Isaiah 18, which says, the land of whirring wings that is beyond the rivers of Cush, that's Persia and Sudan, which sends ambassadors by the sea. Now, he said that was the worst translated verse in the whole of Isaiah. And he spent a long time working through all the words of it. One place, he spent 7 pages on it. And finally, he concluded, Britain and its young lions will take maritime possession of the Gulf of Persia and the Red Sea to Suez. And that's where the crisis is right now. That's where the crisis is right now. And he predicted it way back there in Elpis Israel, in Exposition of Daniel, in Eureka, and in his magazine that he wrote. In the magazine, he's got nearly 7 pages on it, working it out, going through each word carefully to make sure it was accurate. So he said, that's what's going to happen. Well as that, I just couldn't resist putting this in. We all know this off by heart almost, but Ezekiel 38 says, when Russia comes down, Iran, Persia, Iran, and those nations around it will be allied to Russia. And so we are seeing Iran moving, or Persia, moving in a direction that's allied to Russia. At the moment, Russia is sending weapons to Iran. So you see they are allied together already. And Ezekiel 38, partly Iran, is allied to Russia. The rest will be later. So, what's happening? Come back to now what's happening. We got these 2 gulfs there, and Iran aimed to close both of them. Iran aimed to close both of those, and they threatened to do so. How in the heck were they going to do it? Well, they're accumulating nuclear weapons. The ABC said at one point they had about 1,000 kilograms of nuclear material, around about 60% purity. At 90% purity, you only need 42 kilos to make 1 atom bomb. You can do the sums yourself if you like, but they've got enough for many, many atom bombs. And their prime aim was to destroy Israel. So Iran, it was preparing for war, preparing to attack those countries, particularly Israel, that is opposed to them. So they didn't only stop at nuclear weapons, they accumulate a few missiles. There's the number where they can go, the distance they can travel. We won't concentrate on that. And it worked. The Straits of Hormuz were blocked by them. They trapped initially over 200 ships in the Persian Gulf. I'll give you another number later. And more than 150 vessels outside. They wanted to come in and out and get the oil. You can see a picture of some of the ships initially that were there, that were blocked. It was huge. I put that map on so you can see where the Straits of Hormuz are, but I guess you've all seen papers and got a fairly cluey idea where that Gulf is at the moment, all those straits are. All right? But now let's move on. The Straits of Hormuz is the world's most critical waterway. I bet you really know that now. It's because of this that you know about it, but we'll talk more of that in a second. Out of the Persian Gulf comes 1/5, 20% of the total world's oil, and we get 1/5 of our oil from that Gulf. Out of it comes every day, when it's normal, 13 million barrels of crude oil. You think of it, per day. And a complete closure of that will cause the prices of oil, they said, New York Times, to rise. Well, I looked on the web to try and find the highest price in Australia, and I got this picture here. I was coming along here tonight, it had $1.71, but here it is, $2.41 for the normal fuel, unleaded petrol. So you can see it really did work. It struck up like that, no trouble. And we heard about it and heard about it and heard about it in the radio. But not only that, I want you to appreciate that also out of that Persian Gulf comes urea, a very special type of fertiliser, urea fertiliser. They make it from methane gas. Some of you young ones will know the difference between methane and propane. It's a lighter gas and they can't compress it and then sell it like they can LPG, liquid propane gas. So what do? They turn it into fertiliser. Fertiliser. And huge amounts of fertiliser come out of the Persian Gulf. It's incredible what's going on. Incredible to see what's happening. Now, currently, I did a bit of a chase on the web this afternoon. I said, how many people died of starvation last year? And they said 9 million. But they said this year is going to be extremely serious. Help, I thought 9 million. But they said this year is going to be incredibly serious. Here, even in Australia, they're saying the farmers are questioning whether they should plough the fields because they can't buy the fertiliser. Their crops won't work. And they're extremely concerned over global shortage of food. You know, just going aside from the Persian Gulf, another area from which massive amounts of food come is Ukraine. Ukraine is the biggest supplier of food for Europe in normal conditions. Now, Ukraine is in difficulty. The Persian Gulf is in difficulty. And they are fiercely worried about what's going to happen if that happens, if it remains closed. You know, Iran itself is in problems. Iran gets its food. Iran is being attacked. And of course, the Persian Gulf is being closed. Let me have a little drink, just a second. The Persian Gulf is being closed. And so Iran is not getting the normal money. Millions and millions of dollars would have come normally into Iran. It's normally quite a rich country. But it's facing the worst food crisis itself. Why is that? Well, they haven't got the money. They can't buy it from other countries. And so the price of food is gone up nearly 400%. 400%. Iran's worst food crisis ever. Empty ovens, angry people. They're desperate to know what to do. It's really tricky what's going on. What are they going to do? You know, how much is a loaf of bread here in Adelaide? Oh, well, maybe $2.50. Well, they're paying, in equivalent terms, $10. In other words, it's gone up 400%. If it was $1, it would be $4. Almost all of their food is in that state. And it's getting worse every day. Getting worse every day. But you see, not only is it impacting them, as I said before, and it can impact every country in the world if it doesn't open up, for fuel and for food. So our friendly chap over here, you know him, I guess. You've heard a little of him, Mr. Trump. He said he would fix things up. And what did he threaten to do? He threatened to close the Persian Gulf, open the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea here, and open the Red Sea here. He determined to set in his navy. He determined to set in this huge number of ships, and he did so. Here's just one. Trump's armada deployed. Iran faces US fury. America put almost all of its key ships into the area outside the Persian Gulf. I think it was 3 aircraft carriers first off, along with many destroyers and battleships, came into that area. So it's critical what's going on. It's absolutely critical. Just take Tehran. He then acted on Tehran. He then sent his missiles into it. Here's pictures of Tehran itself. And they reckon the people in Tehran are suffering terribly. Sleepless, fear, exhaustion gripped the residents of Tehran as successive waves of Americans struck the Iranian capital and other capitals. They really, really did bomb that area. So it was really tricky what's going on. So it didn't stop there. Iran has many ships, vessels, military ships, naval ships. And those pictures there, shocking as that picture is, I couldn't improve on it, they were all sunk very shortly in the very early stages. 30 of them were sunk. But Mr. Trump came on the radio a little while ago and he said, yeah, we've sunk one or two more. He said, we've sunk 158. I put it on the web to check it out and they said, well, at least over 120 have been sunk. So America has gone in there and absolutely blasted them. So the situation is critical. And as well as that, the well is deprived of 1 billion barrels of oil over the last 2 months. Last 2 months, 1 billion barrels hasn't come out from that Persian Gulf that we normally would get. And if they get it open, and it's having a lot of trouble getting it open, they say it will take time, quite a lot of time, for the world to recover, for it to come back to normal. So you can see things have been happening critically. Well, Iran's war machine crashed. USA claims it's hit 10,000 targets inside the country. So it's really getting bombed, no doubt about it. Iran war live. Trump says ceasefire now will be in effect since I've bombed these. And let's hope they wake up. We'll call peace for a minute. Let's see if they will wake up. Well, let's have a look at what he's accomplished. This happens to be today, the 77th day since the start of this Persian Gulf crisis. Today. The operation began on February the 28th, 77 days ago, and President Trump and Netanyahu, following fear of Iran missile threats, they attacked. The targets they hit were nuclear reactors. As well as that, military infrastructure, commanders, they even killed the top man, got him. But it still didn't stop things. The operation was called Operation Fury, and USA initially launched speed, surprise, violence action, aiming to destroy Iran's ability to wage war. Boom. Then it escalated. Iran responded with strikes on US bases, closing the Straits of Hormuz. And the consequence? Ceasefire was then offered by America. We'll pick that up in a minute. After 40 days, a ceasefire was mediated by the Pakistanis, and its effect took place April the 8th. Yes, that's what America said. But Iran didn't accept it. Outcome, as of mid-May, the ceasefire is considered on life support, says Mr. Trump. It might survive. They might stop being silly and things might come normal. But that's where it is now. And Iran, coming back a little when it opened up its attack, in the first 36 hours hit all those areas. And it has an interesting consequence as far as Scripture is concerned. Note where it went along the coast. All of these countries here got hit. And they are referred to in Scripture. Sheba is down here, down this area here, and Dedan's the whole of that peninsula. Coming back, they were American bases, military bases in all of those countries that got blasted. And those countries have said, well, we're not going with you, Iran, anymore. We're not friends with you anymore. We'll align with America. We'll align with the Western countries. We'll align with the Tarshish bloc. And so we can see that quote is being fulfilled. Sheba and the whole of Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions shall say, art thou come to take a spoil when Russia comes down. So they are now allied, and that alliance will remain until Armageddon takes place. That's the alliance, as Scripture said. Iran didn't stop just at American bases. United Arab Emirates, that's them there. There's the Straits of Hormuz. They had a pipeline bypassing it. So what happened to it? Boom. Iran blitzed it. It's making the situation absolutely intolerable. What could we done? Where could they go? It was staggering. But now, come back to what Dr. Thomas said. Dr. Thomas said this, that Britain will keep open the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. Then the Iranians contacted the Houthis and told them then to act again on that area there, the Red Sea. And the consequence, they sunk ships in the Red Sea. So if you want to sail from Australia over here, you can't go through there easily, or you might be sunk. Mostly they go up around here. Huge extra cost to trade with Europe and Britain because they're closing the Persian Gulf. So what did America do then? They sent another aircraft carrier across. The Gerald Ford moves into the Red Sea. 4,500 sailors, and they transited the Suez Canal and they operated in the Red Sea. Look at what America's doing. It's doing everything it can to open up those straits. Then it came up with Project Freedom. Project Freedom. They sent destroyers. They sent aircraft carriers. They sent 15,000 soldiers into the area. They really bumped things up. They wished to secure passage through the ships, through the straits. But they had two aims. They wanted to get moderate, sensible nations out of the Gulf or into the Gulf to get oil if necessary. But they wanted to stop all the Iranian ships coming out, to cripple Iran, to make them become sensible. To make them become sensible. So, what's happening in Iran now? Iran is absolutely crippled. Iran, the ships, Trump claims Iran is collapsing financially, losing millions of dollars a day. Of course they are, because the oil isn't coming out. They're not getting paid for anything. They're getting bankrupt. It's staggering. Absolutely staggering. And in the Straits, it's estimated they're now trapped in there by Iran, which America can't get out, are 20,000 sailors and 2,000 ships that are trapped in the Gulf. And they're very concerned if this keeps up, what's going to happen to the sailors' food supplies. The sailors' food supplies. America's helicoptering in food where they can, but it's very dangerous to do that. to try and supply food for those sailors who trapped there for weeks and weeks. They never thought this would happen. So what's going on? Well, now let's leave there. America has said, we'll make peace there if Iran will become sensible. And Iran's starving and becoming poverty-stricken, and looks like in the near future they will change. But more on that in a minute. Let's come closer to Israel. North of Israel is Lebanon. And in Lebanon there's a terrorist group called the Hezbollah, funded by Iran, armed by Iran. And now Israel's intensifying its attacks on them. Look at this. And Lebanon is now being sucked into the US-Israeli war on Iran. Things are growing very difficult for Lebanon. So what did Trump say? He said to the Prime Minister of Lebanon, come to America. And he said the same to Mr. Netanyahu. And there's the Prime Minister, there's Netanyahu, and there was the chairman, Mr. Trump. And they met in New York, or not maybe New York, but they met in America. And they agreed on that they will make a peace deal. Twice at least they've met together over there, gone over and back, because the situation is so critical, utterly critical. And what's been the consequence? The first time they went over, they agreed on a 3-week peace deal, 21 days. And now, just yesterday, they agreed on another peace deal, extending it by 45 days. Do the sums, for 66 days. I don't know if it means anything, but for 66 days, they plan to have a peace deal with Lebanon, but not with the Hezbollah. With Lebanon and not the Hezbollah. Well, now come to the big picture. Iran funds the Hamas in the Gaza Strip. They fund the Houthis at the bottom of the Red Sea. They fund the Hezbollah in Lebanon. They pay them twice as much as the local soldiers do to attack Israel. And they arm them. But now, Iran is looking very bankrupt. Consequence, Iran's terrorists now not supported by Iran. Well, we don't know how much support they can get in, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to do much. And the consequence is that they might go quiet as a consequence. And the Middle East might have peace. And the Middle East might have peace. So things are really moving. Now let's come to the next sign. Britain and the Commonwealth support Israel. Okay, now what do we expect to happen there? Well, it's going to be really quite critical and important what they do. Tarshish with the young lions is Britain and the Commonwealth and possibly USA. Initially, they were related, established by the British power, Britain, what USA was. And so here's this map. It shows the Commonwealth countries and the countries that are friendly with Britain. So the blue is the Commonwealth countries, and the green particularly are the ones friendly with Britain and working together with Britain. So what's going on? Well, Britain's in huge trouble. Does anybody know this chap? Mr. Steimer, their Prime Minister. And he just faced a vote. And what was the result? Prime Minister Steimer refuses to step down despite a catastrophic local election result. He lost 1,460 council seats in one day. He's in real trouble. Many in his party are saying, stand down, stand down, stand down. And he may. And who knows, it might be Mr. Farage, who's a little bit more friendly towards Israel, might take over. We'll see. But Britain is acting. Britain is acting. A little while ago, about 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, Britain got on the phone or on the web with France to 53 other leaders around the world, 53 other nations. And they said to all of them, we need to help America to open the Persian Gulf. 40 agreed to send ships under Britain's control. Britain sent one over already. Not a lot of good. You wait, I'll show you in the next picture. But you see, what they are trying to do is open that up. So here's Britain acting with America and bringing in 40 other nations who promised to help. Oh, of course they are. If they don't get the oil, look at what's going to happen to the world's economy, world's food supply. Look at the starvation that's going to come. So Britain also sent some other ships. These ships are uncrewed. In other words, they've got no men aboard them. They're remote, like a drone, but on the water. And they've probably got explosives in the head. And they zoom across the water to attack. Quite a good idea. But look what the article said. Part of a multinational force that will go into the Persian Gulf. Under Britain's control, along with America. As well as that, look at this. Because of the problems in the Middle East, there's a rearrangement of alliances. United Arab Emirates, the Arab area, uniting with Israel and India. Isn't that the Tarshish bloc that we know of? India's part of it, Eastern Tarshish. And United Arab Emirates, part of the area of Dedan. And of course, Israel. So things are really moving. Now let's come along to our signs. We don't want to run out of time, so that's why I'm barreling along quite quickly. But further to that, the rise of Russia as a superpower and the unification of Europe with Russia, that's got to happen. Ezekiel 38, Daniel 2 tells us that. So dramatic things are going to happen. Are they? Well, look, we're going back a year. Oh, and Russia had the biggest call-up of soldiers ever. 2.3 million now. I think they called up nearly 1 million on that occasion last year. Every male in Russia from the year 18 onwards must be trained in the military for a while so they can be called up if they need to. So Russia's a country full of soldiers if you need them. And so they were preparing for war. Putin's biggest Russian military call-up in years, last year. As well as that, we're helping Russia. You knew that, didn't you? You're going to pull in and buy some petrol on the way home? Probably Mr. Putin will write you a little letter and say, thank you for the extra you paid for your fuel. What's happening is Russia produced 300 oil tankers that didn't have flags and didn't register digitally what country they came from. And they're still working today, going right around the world, supplying oil. And in our papers, several times I've said, Australia gets most of its crude oil to India, to Sudan, Singapore and Korea, and they refine it and we use it. So because you're paying a bit more, Mr. Trump is getting money. Australia continues importing refined Russian crude while Ukraine burns. And who's benefiting from it? Russia is. The high price you pay on the way home, if you do, helps Russia. And so Trump now begins German pullout from Europe. He's bankrupt. He has a debt of 38 trillion. The interest on that money is equal to his total GDP in a year. The amount of money America produces in a year only pays the interest. He's in real trouble. So he pulled out only a few days ago, 5,000 troops, and he's saying he's going to pull out the rest. Europe's terrified. Europe's in a real crisis. And not only that, Europe is preparing for a possible war with Russia without USA now. The fear is growing that they can't rely on USA. NATO used to be backed up dominantly by America. Trump said many years ago, spend at least 5% on military. They didn't. They didn't. And they relied on America to defend themselves from Russia. And now it's falling apart. Look at this. Where does Europe get its oil from? Now, some of these pipelines have been reopened up. They come from Russia. There's a big gas pipeline that goes through there that got bombed. It's been repaired and the gas is going through from Russia into Europe. What is Europe doing with its oil? Some of it they probably send into Ukraine. So Ukraine's planes and drones and things like that are probably fueled by Russian oil or fuel, refined fuel. So things are changing. Now I want you to notice this is not this year, but the pro-Putin far right is marching across Europe. Everybody over there is afraid, and there's growing tendency to say, let's join up with Russia so we don't have to fight them. And they're saying it's better to be red Russian than dead. We don't want to lose our children on the battlefield. So why don't we join up? Some are saying that. Not all, but here's a few of the politicians, 2004, that showed pro-Russian tendencies. So things are moving. But Russia's changing too. They're losing thousands of people, soldiers, probably every day. And Mr. Putin decided he's had enough. He had a parade celebrating the end of World War II a few days ago, and at the close of that, Putin suggests Russia's war on Ukraine should come to an end, and he offered peace to Ukraine. He offered peace to Ukraine. And what did they do? They said no. And what did he do as a result? Well, it said, first of all, what did he do as a result? I'll say that for a moment. He launched 1,400 missiles yesterday. 1,400. The biggest number of drones and missiles ever. So the message he's saying is make peace or be blitzed. Which way are you going to go? And he also talked to the Germans, a leader in Germany, now who's retired, who's a friend of Mr. Putin, and said to him, can you be our chairman between me and Zelensky that we might bring peace in Europe and between us and Ukraine? So he's offering at the moment. But of course, if they don't accept, look out what's going to happen, he's saying. So what's it going to be the final result? We know what the final result is. Outside they probably don't, but we do because we've got a Bible. The Bible says to us, Daniel's image will be set up. Daniel's image is the territory of the Persian, the territory of the Assyrian, territory of the Greeks, the territory of the Romans, and the 10 of Europe. That's the territory of God in red. And that area is going to ally with Russia. And they will together, because probably anti-Semitism, invade the Middle East, invade Israel. And the result will be, boom. And the final conclusion, Armageddon. But remember, we are taken before Armageddon. Judgment comes to the Christadelphians before that. So are we going to see a quiet moment for a minute? We might. We can't be dogmatic how it's going to outwork, but keep your eyes open. Don't be deceived. If things go quiet for a minute, it's not the situation where we can go to sleep too. It's a time when we should be very serious about the truth. And it's looking like it might do so now. Look at all the ships coming to the Persian Gulf, 40 other nations. Look at what's happening up in Europe. Europe's terrified and determined to do something. And Putin is saying, make friends with me. So the situation is vital that we watch. Peter wrote to some who he said were his beloved. It's cognate with the word agape. He said that to them no less than 4 times, that he loved them. And what was his words of love to them and us? Beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the political heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also, and all the works thereof shall be burned up. Chaos is coming. Chaos is coming. And you know, in the book of Revelation, as I said to you before, he said, in that book, which is really a love letter, he said, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he or she that watcheth and keepeth his or her garments, lest they walk naked and they see his shame. So what do we need to be doing? He will come suddenly and unexpectedly. And further, so watch and walk faithfully. The kingdom is a wonderful place. We need it. It'll be lovely to be in it. We will have a just king called Jesus. We'll have a benevolent government who cares. Won't allow people to starve like we're going to see happening if things go the way Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin's are making. There will be true justice, worldwide peace, one language, everybody be able to talk. One worldwide religion, the true religion of the Bible. They will worship one true God, not some trinity. There will be genuine security and no violence. Look at the world today. Never a news report goes by where they're not talking about people dying or killed. There will be agricultural plenty. There won't be the problem that's happening in Iran now that could spread worldwide because of lack of fertiliser. And even the wilderness will be productive. It'll be a wonderful world. You want to be there? Well, Jesus' final words, Mark 16, verses 15 to 16. We probably know it off by heart, but let me read it to you again. And Jesus said unto them, go you into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be condemned. Where are you? What do we have to do? There are 3 essential steps. Believe the gospel, the things concerning the kingdom and the name of Jesus Christ. Be baptized and then continue faithfully. And the consequence will be that we'll be saved. So hearken to Jesus. Hearken to his words. Hearken to his warning. The days are short. Well, I'll leave that up there anyhow. But we'll close at that point. We can see how critical these days are. The time indeed is very short and very near. Thank you.